a nationwide cartel running on crypto, a bank director at the top tier, and $1.689 billion. Frozen in one sweep. That's Operation Hawthorne. 7 states, 2,500 federal agents, multiple tons of heroin, meth, and cocaine, plus nearly $1 billion in cash seized. In Georgia alone, a 5:04 a.m. entry yielded $62 million packed by color, 14 guns, and drives mapping bribes to officials. Keep watching as we break down how law enforcement synchronized a physical raid with a financial shutdown to cut off a borderless network moving money through trusted U.S. systems. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. The encrypted drives weren't trophies, they were blueprints. Investigators opened them and found approvals pushed through at odd hours, relay notes for safe deposit swaps, and anonymized wallet keys labeled like payroll. That data put a small-town director in a national lattice because it showed authorship, not just proximity. Every signature embedded on those drives, every override logged in a hidden subledger, fed a pattern that mapped to shipments moving days later on highways he never touched. Daniel K. Hawthorne ran Georgia Prime Bank's daily calm. At 5:04 a.m., that calm broke. One team hit his $1.8 million home and lifted floorboards to 14 firearms and 7.22 pounds of heroin and meth. Another team walked into his bank and met a scene that told the other half of the story. $62 million in color-coded duffels and 3 Georgia police officers standing close enough to count the bands. He wore the suit. The room carried the weight. He didn't look like a trafficker because the job called for a banker. Investigators matched hidden wire approvals to shipping manifests surfacing in other states. They paired safe deposit relays with late-night courier stops, then traced midnight pickups to trucks that cleared county lines just as approvals hit. The drives bridged the gap. Timestamps, routing notes, and short codes that mirrored external ledger entries built by the cartel's logistics side. His personal life closed the loop. Hawthorne's wife, Claudia Varela, is the daughter of a founding commander of La Furia Roa. That link tied family to finance. It explained access, trust, and why a banker could steer timing without ever touching a pallet. In a world where introductions decide risk, marriage placed him inside the ring. Inside the files sat a clean diagram, a 4-tier hierarchy with Hawthorne at the top of Tier 4, finance and political influence. The tier support document didn't stop there. It mapped 8 layers of compromise below the title blocks. Clerks who moved papers, schedulers who shifted meetings, and a sealed state advisor riding the top row with county officials. It read like an org chart for corruption, with arrows pointing to who buffered whom when pressure rose. The mechanism hid in plain sight. Wires moved as corporate investments into shell companies with real websites and thin histories. Crypto off-ramps converted spiked inflows into vendor payments and consulting fees. Escrow-like shells carried bribes as facility upgrades and community grants. 23 county officials and 5 senior police had encrypted calendars that opened to windows matching those payouts. When the money cleared, gates opened, cases stalled, or patrols shifted. Reach showed in numbers. More than 380 law enforcement personnel across 11 states were flagged for review. Within a week, 187 officers, deputies, and correctional staff were suspended. Over 120 officials received sealed indictments, from procurement desks to county supervisors. The map looked like normal government. The log said otherwise. Institutional inroads kept the flow looking ordinary. A delivery driver with a national badge rerouted packages to safe houses without raising scanners. A licensed physician issued over 300 falsified medical certifications that kept certain people free of stops and stays. A middle school teacher surfaced as a recruiter, flagging kids who slid under the radar and folding families into errands and cover stories. Healthcare, education, logistics, each gave the network a normal face for abnormal moves. Specifics cut through any doubt. A sheriff's lieutenant in Alabama erased 27 warrants tied to couriers. A South Carolina state trooper pinged DUI checkpoint locations so convoys could switch routes in real time. A decorated Georgia police captain sold escort clearances at $8,000 a night for almost 3 years. These weren't favors. They were scheduled services. By the end, the role snapped into focus. Hawthorne stopped being a conduit and became a coordinator. He approved hidden transfers, set operational timing, and synchronized risk across money, movement, and cover. If the brain sat in a bank office, the muscle stretched across 7 states. Now watch the sweep that hit the cash, the cargo, and the crypto all at once. With cash locked and crypto frozen, the window to hit the network sat at minutes, not hours. The command built for that. They called it Operation Hawthorne. FBI led the board, with DEA on narcotics, HSI ICE on transnational finance and movement, ATF on weapons, and the U.S. Marshals on fugitive control. Warrants were sealed, launch times coded, and teams split by function instead of geography. The plan stacked targets so no route, wallet, or warehouse got a head start. Time on target didn't mean everyone kicked at once. It meant each door, vault, node, and cold wallet went live in a sequence that denied any escape path. The risk sat in the gap between a lock and a leak. Physical seizures take bodies and time. Crypto moves in seconds. A single phone call could drain a wallet before a team cleared the foyer. So, comms discipline went tight. Briefings ran on need to know. Field updates moved through prearranged signals, not chatter. If a warehouse team slipped by even a minute, another crew would hold a ledger order rather than trigger a chain reaction. The only way to beat speed was by narrowing the operational window until it closed like a lid. The seizures told the scale. Teams rolled up multiple tons of heroin, methamphetamine, and cocaine across the 7-state grid. Cash beyond Georgia stacked near $1 billion. Count rooms ran non-stop while evidence techs logged denominations and serial runs. On the digital side, the freeze hit $1.689 billion in cryptocurrency, tied to wallets the analysts had mapped from exchange KYC leaks, blockchain heuristics, and internal ledger traces found in the encrypted drives. A number that size only pauses if you know where the keys are and who holds authority over the flows. The crypto takedown moved on 4 rails. Restraining orders hit exchanges inside the same window as door knocks, so custodial accounts couldn't transact. Seed phrases recovered from encrypted media unlocked several primary vaults and backup wallets. Dusting transactions went out in tiny amounts to confirm control before full freezes landed. Meanwhile, chain surveillance tagged nodes across states, linking mixers to service wallets and feeder accounts that fronted as vendors. It wasn't one wallet. It was a constellation, and each star dimmed at the same minute. Supply chains made the network look clean. Cartel shipments piggybacked on legitimate logistics. Parcels moved with paid freight, not shady vans. A physician's 300-plus falsified medical certifications pushed specific labor placements into warehouses and distribution hubs, smoothing access and reducing scrutiny on certain shifts. A middle school teacher flagged as a recruiter funneled teenagers and extended family into errands, storage, and lookout roles. During the sweep, those nodes got neutralized in sync. Licenses suspended, access badges revoked, and schedules pulled, so product and money lost their legs and eyes at once. The contrast was sharp. On one side, color-coded duffels, floorboard stashes, bolt-cut locks, and pallet seals. On the other, cold wallets, tumblers, and multi-sig gates. Both environments demand precision. Kick too early and the other front hardens. Kick too late and the value exits. Trust between agencies made the clock work. Teams reported only what the next team needed. Everyone else held silence. Operational risk didn't live in shadows. It wore badges. 28 dirty cops were identified in live corridors. To keep them blind, integrity firewalls fenced planning cells, and compartmentation kept site lists siloed. Leaks couldn't spread because no one outside a small circle held the full map. So here's the count you asked for. More than 2,500 agents across 7 states from the FBI, DEA, HSI/ICE, ATF, and U.S. Marshals. synchronized to freeze $1.689 billion in digital assets while seizing drugs, weapons, and cash. With the banking brain offline and the digital bloodstream clamped, the next fight isn't about arrests. It's about whether a borderless cartel can rebuild without the signals and shortcuts that made it fast. Hitting La Furia Roa worked because teams struck the vault, the road, and the ledger on the same minute. That timing sent one message: cut the money and you cut the motion. The case also shows why vigilance matters and why trust in institutions has to be rebuilt with hard controls, not slogans. Compliance is shifting toward real-time monitoring, tighter access, and crypto-specific audits that close the gaps the network used. Tell us what part of the sweep surprised you most, and subscribe for the next chapter on how crypto finance reshapes cartel math. When $1.689 billion goes dark, who moves first? The cartel, insiders, or markets?